Reporting requirement, metadata vocabulary for European legislation, tool for enhancing digital-ready policies. Monica Palmirani, a professor at the University of Bologna. Yeah, I'll just hand it to you, Monica.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Monica Palmirani. I'm a professor at the University of Bologna, and I'm also one of the main authors of Accomantoso. So if you are curious how to use Accomantoso in the legal domain and in interoperable way, I'm available during this conference. But today I'm talking about an ontology called reporting requirement metadata vocabulary for detecting and modeling this kind of specific part of a discourse inside of a legislation. What is it? A reporting requirement is a particular piece of legislation, legal binding, that command to some institution to prepare, report, plan, budget, opinions, standards, whatever. And frequently, the people confuse these requirements with a strong legal obligation that are different matter. Legal strong obligation is for the citizen, not for internal process, is called a meta-obligation. So we need a particular ontology. Why it is so important to detect and to model this kind of piece of legislation? Because it's an instrument introduced from a while inside of a better regulation initiative to improve and monitor the legislation in some domain according to the evolution of the society and the member state regulation. So using this report, standards, opinion, we have a methodology inside of a legal process lawmaking system of a European institution. And it is also important to detect the needs of the society soon and better respect the problems come from the courts. And finally, it is important for the digital-ready policy. This is an example of anatomy of reporting requirements, or call it in some European document also reporting requests, so are synonymous. You can see the European Commission shall do something by a deadline or a temporal entity concerning a topic, and consequently we have also some other actions. So we detect agents. Agents can change over the time. We detect the action of these requirements. We detect the temporal parameters, and obviously also the topic. We detect these and we try to model in RDF, but linked also with Accomantoso. So the European legislation includes a lot of these kind of reporting requests. You can see the 60% of European legislation include a reporting request because they're a real instrument to monitor the quality of application and evolution of the matter of the legislation. And additionally, we want also to have patterns to put inside of drafting, so to prevent to write a wrong reporting request. And so we have a task ex ante to monitor the quality and ex post to monitoring the fact. So the research questions are that follow, model reporting request in RDF, but also to link it with the normative references of a legislation of a gazette, because the law change over time. So one-shot reporting request monitor is not enough, because obviously we have modification over the time. And also we want to monitor the execution, not only the specification in the law, but also to see, okay, the report was developed, the standard was monitored, the opinion released, so not only to the state of the art by the legislation, but also to check the execution of these. And we integrated in our ontology also existing, obviously, ontology of the common vocabulary existing in the European Commission and the ALI, a command also for EU, and the web annotation data model, and many others. And we have analyzed a lot of more than 1,000 of acts, and we detected many reporting requests in our analysis. How we do so? We take 20 years of EURLEX legislation. We transform it in a command also with a previous parser that we have in University of Bologna that is available for everyone if you want. And using the annotation of many legal experts in my university, but also in the European Commission, we have trained the AI system to detect this kind of reporting request. And from our analysis, one of the most problematic part is the temporal information, so deadlines. So when I need to do so and present a report, and you can see there is a very curious wording, like as soon as possible, or simultaneously. What does mean as soon as possible, or simultaneously respect what? So we want to detect during the drafting this kind of anomalies that make unsecure and unapplicable and ambiguous the legislation in monitoring. So it's not a sort of interpretation. We need a deadline for the report, for these reporting requests. So for this reason, the ontology is quite little but dense. We first of all connect our reporting request with the ALI and the Comantoso in order to detect the modification over the time. So all the versioning are connected, so I can immediately detect a new modification and give an alert to the system. Pay attention that the law is modified. And I detect using verbs the action, and the action are linked with agent, but also agents change over the time. Agency in the European Commission changes the name, the competencies, and so we needed to monitor also the evolution of a past agency today, mapping the new agency with the past. So we link the agent with the temporal information, and also the type of agent. Is an addressee, addressaire, was a legislator, was simply an editor of the legislation, so we can monitor these. And the temporal aspect. We detect frequency every year, every 6 months, or the duration of the report. The report is valid only 2 years, so after 2 years we need to rewrite. And sometimes we have a one-shot deadline, so it's easy to detect by the end of the year. But sometimes we have a very convoluted sentence, like not later of 6 months before the end of financial year. So why don't say exactly the date? So this is very strange, so we wanted to detect. This is a complete map of the ontology we can find in the portal of the European Commission. It is very used nowadays inside of many DG for experiment, but also is also used by in an experiment of a publication office, so everything is online. But the most relevant part of this ontology is to track the reporting request modification over the time. This is a very add value of these in combination with a Comantoso, especially AKN for EU. So you can see the knowledge graph detected, populated by the ontology. And you can see in green the reporting request, but the reporting request is affected by the red, that is a modification. And sometimes we have two levels of modification of modification. So in such a way, the legal expert office can see immediately if some intervention are necessary to reformulate the reporting request. Conclusions. The current version is approved not only by a little group, but with a long path of stakeholders task force meetings, and everything is released and available online in the portal of European Commission. It is good, this ontology, for ex post analysis when the act is already published in the Gazette, but moreover it's very important also to detect previously during the drafting. It's so true that now we have developed a tool inside of Leos, a microservice that call AI system for detecting the reporting request first and to extract the components and serialize in RDF. And we are now experimenting the templates. So after the experience, we can propose a template in Leos for writing since the beginning in a good way this kind of reporting requests. And obviously, not obviously, but we are now extending RRMV in order to manage also the interoperable assessment modules and also the legal legislation, financial data assessment. And we need really to integrate with the new Interoperable Act information. Thank you so much.
Great. Grazie, thank you. Let's see what questions we would have on Slido, and if there's a microphone question out here as well. Okay, here we go. Why limit the scope of RRMV to reporting obligations for institutions and not extend it to reporting obligations for the private sector?
Very good question. For now, we are managing the wording of a legislation. Legislation as a particular kind of language. So the experiment to classify and to extract is done especially based on European legislation, but let me say that we are analyzing also national legislation, because the same ontology is good also for member states' legislation. For the private sector, it's more complicated because we needed to enter inside of a contract as a different kind of document, totally. Many clauses are very sensitive to the local language or the local best practices of the domain of the industry. So we move the attention from legislation, is quite abstract, neutral, and equidistant from everyone, to a specific company or industry and contract. Okay. So in principle, it's feasible, but we need to move analysis to really another kind of document and the theory in the back of this kind of document.
Okay. Next question. To what extent do the existing, have the existing ontologies helped you to cover the field of reporting requirements? To what extent have the existing ontologies helped you to cover the field of reporting requirements? Does that make sense to you? It's not clear to me. But
no, not so much, but well, it is possible to extend, and we are now extending for covering the Interoperability Act and assessment that are included in many other legislation of Europe. And the extension include also a part of a classification of the topic of the public services that we see in the previous presentation. So we have some connection with existing other ontology in order to classify process, public services, target, and also high level, let me say, assess and assessment. This is a kind of extension that we are now doing.
Okay, what about different languages? How do you deal with multiple languages? Did you train the AI to extract the requirements from English and translate the extracted terms afterwards? Or do you extract the requirements directly from all language versions and link them afterwards?
Thank you for the question. We are now using models that are multilingual for extending the experiment to other languages, because we have clearly in mind that we have multilinguality, and for this reason we choose models, LLM and transformer, that are already modeled and designed for multilingualism. We are now using the same for Italian. So we apply the same experiment to Italian language. Why not to extend to the others?
Yeah, we should call it a large multilingual language.
Exactly. We use that. Multilingual models.
Yeah. Next question. How can your work help reduce reporting requirements?
Wow, the reporting requirements, I don't have the slide, but we have many competencies question, like give me all the reporting requirements coming from the agency or financial inside of the commission, that the legal act are abrogated or suspended by COVID. Because during COVID, we assisted a lot of derogation, not monitored. And so the legislation already put in evidence to do something, but were suspended. So it's very important to understand the tracking tool, the tracking possibility to track the reporting request over the time. Today is due every 6 months, but tomorrow could be maybe suspended for a period, do something, and after a while need to monitor again. The second benefit is my goal is in a certain period of a time, I collect the data from the reality, and I check if the mandates were respected. So did you really do what say the reporting request in time? Yeah. So this is a second level, execution check compliance, not only to monitor the piece of a text, but also to see if in the reality this reporting request is implemented and how is implemented.
Okay. On legislative text, instead of extracting the individual parts of a legislative text after it has been drafted, can't we force people to use an ontology-based template as it's being written?
Okay, we are using Leos, and inside of Leos you can choose, since the type of the article, you can say, I don't know which kind of article, is a general penalties, but or description of something, and we detect if inside of the wording during the typing there is some ingredients of reporting request, and we say, oh, pay attention, you are writing also reporting request. And then we can present templates, and these templates help the people to write better the reporting request.
Sure. Yeah.
After that, we check again with the ontology.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to have wrote something good, but ontology check and say, haha, is missing the deadline.
Right, exactly, yeah. How does the RRMV support the implementation of the digital ready policy making approach?
Yes, this is a very interesting question. First of all, we can detect, for instance, if a due technical report or standards compliance or data set production or implementation of services, like implementation of interoperable services between digital identity, like the regulation ADAS, right? So in such a way, you can specifically qualify kind of outputs of the reporting requirements, and to check if there are something in line with the digital policy lawmaking approach. Right. And so to force, say, aha, you are talking about digital identity, probably you needed to be compliant with the standard SAML, because Regulation ADAS imposes that, and probably these permit also to combine each other in a consistent way the European legislation.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what we want. Monica Palmieri, thank you very much. Big hands to
Thank you.
Monica.